Again, this is AZC2. Today I would like to congratulate Real Oviedo for getting promoted back to La Liga after 24 years in the lower divisions. Real Oviedo defeated Mirandes, who were on the verge of getting to the top flight for the first time in their history, thanks to a decisive goal from Santi Cazorla, who was a product of Oviedo's academy. He was later released when the club ran into financial trouble, and he later played for Arsenal for a while. His career was subsequently blighted by injury, and he underwent several operations to treat his damaged Achilles tendons. One of the operations resulted in complications that caused gangrene, and he was told he may never walk again, let alone play. But he defied the odds, and at the age of 40, made an amazing comeback for Real Oviedo. The story of Oviedo can be said to parallel that of Luton Town in the English League. Luton were relegated from the top flight 31 years before they got promoted back, and in the meantime spent time in the non-league division after entering administration and getting 30 points deducted. Oviedo, I'd say, would have a better chance of survival than Sunderland in the equivalent top flight in England, because given the state of play in the Premier League right now, it's become pretty much a closed shop dominated by 17 teams. The newly promoted clubs struggle and fail to make any impact. It's much more competitive in Spain, even though the top positions rotate between Barcelona and Real Madrid most of the time, because the relegation dogfight can get pretty exciting. Last season, Espanyol were one of 3 clubs who got promoted from the lower leagues that managed to survive at the expense of Las Palmas, who joined the newly promoted Leganes and Valladolid in the second tier. Both clubs had just been promoted, and they failed to make an impact. But Espanyol did it. Espanyol gave the big boys a run for their money. Valencia was struggling at the bottom, but they pulled themselves back up. Valencia are fallen giants. They used to be qualifying for Europe regularly, but Peter Lim, the Singaporean businessman who has been increasingly unpopular with fans in recent years, pretty much ruined the club and is at risk of running it to the ground. Valencia need a white knight like the Saudi Public Investment Fund, who look like they have done some miracles in northeast England. Since they bought over Newcastle, the Magpies have been going from strength to strength, most recently winning the Carabao Cup after beating Liverpool in the final. The mood on northeast England is certainly made more buoyant when Sunderland beat Sheffield United to gain promotion via playoffs. in much the same way that Oviedo beat Mirandes. As someone who believes in the underdog, I felt disappointed, but I still give Mirandes credit where it's due. Mirandes' route to the playoff final mirrors that of Forest Green Rovers' route to the National League playoff finals in 2017. The village team from Gloucestershire then went as far as League One, but were eventually relegated back to back to the and are currently in the National League for the 25-26 season. All in all, 2024-25 has been quite an interesting season in football. Obviously, Newcastle winning the Carabao Cup warms the cockles of my heart. But we also have other underdog stories, such as Crystal Palace beating Manchester City to win the FA Cup. Unfortunately, their qualification for Europe may be in doubt because the owner of Crystal Palace also has shares in Olympique Lyon. And UEFA has strict rules governing multi-club ownership. This is why Sheikh Mansour's shares in Girona had to be transferred to a blind trust. For the very same reason, Evangelos Marinakis doesn't want to be the chairman of Nottingham Forest. On that note, Dan Friedkin being the chairman of both Everton and Roma could be a big mistake. Farhad Moshiri had to go. He was a liability, and his ties to the Russian oligarch Alisher Usmanov certainly wouldn't sit well with the British government. But Dan Friedkin taking over as chairman would create problems because of UEFA's multi-club ownership. Because of regulations concerning multi-club ownership in UEFA competitions. Crystal Palace being forced to sit out of Europe meant that Brighton may have to take their place. Brighton is currently managed by one of the youngest managers around, Fabian Herzler, who used to manage St. Pauli and guided them to promotion to the German Bundesliga after years in the second tier. Tottenham Hotspurs, meanwhile, won their first major trophy in 17 years after beating Manchester United in an all-English Europa League final. Despite their triumph, Ange Postecoglou was sacked and replaced by Thomas Frank, who joined them from Brentford. Tottenham finished 17th in the Premier League, but were in no danger of relegation because the teams below them were that bad that they stood no chance in hell of surviving. I'm especially disappointed with Ipswich Town. I quite like Kieran McKenna. I think he's one of the more decent British managers around. I was hoping that he could make an impact, but his squad lacked the depth to play in the top flight and were relegated after just one season on top. The turning point probably would have been when Ipswich lost at home to Wolves, who were looking revitalised under the stewardship of Victor Pereira. When Victor Pereira took over from Gary O'Neill, Wolves looked like they were relegation fodder. But slowly, Pereira lifted them out of the bottom three. In the Champions League, PSG won their first ever title after thrashing Inter Milan. PSG had defeated Arsenal to get to the finals. Arsenal, meanwhile, had a consolation prize when their ladies' team beat their Barcelona counterparts in the women's equivalent of the Champions League. All in all, 2025-26 should hopefully be a more exciting season in the Premier League. I'm hoping Leeds United manage to survive their first season after spending 2 years in the second tier. Leeds United and Burnley both finished the championship season level on points, but Leeds United won the title by having a superior goal difference. For Scott Parker, this will be his third promotion campaign. He led Burnley to second place in the championship after previously winning promotion with Fulham and Bournemouth in years gone by. Can Leeds and Burnley defy the odds and survive the rigorous Premier League? Only time will tell. And my money is on Leeds United making it. Remember, all Leeds, all white, march on together. See you next time. Bye.